So we need to learn and seek out those mentors and work through processes to grow our understanding of everything in the industry, not just our patient care. Because we can do really good things as a clinician, but until you know all aspects of the business, from the state regulatory side to how you write a policy and procedure for sick leave, those all play into our system and how we operate.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Career Services Presents Inside the Industry Professor Spotlight Series. Today, we have Dr. Rhone of the College of Safety and Emergency Services. Dr. Rhone, do you mind introducing yourself and discussing the classes that you teach at CSU?
Sure, it'd be a pleasure. My name is Dr. Rhone. I'm with the College of Safety and Emergency Services in the Emergency Medical Services Administration programs. Teach a wide variety of programs there that include everything from research for the EMS professional to planning and system designs for the emergency medical services or EMS systems.
Awesome. So with your background in EMS, do you mind telling us a little bit about your experience in the emergency medical services field?
Sure. I have just shy of 2 decades. This will be my 19th year in emergency medical services. I started off working for an interfacility transport company, taking patients from one hospital to another, or dialysis clinic to home, and moved through a 911 system. Left emergency medical services and went to emergency management. Came back and now work as a state EMS official here in Pennsylvania and the Northeast. So I get to go from being on a truck to now regulating the system, and in all actuality, teaching aligns with what we do. I've designed policy and procedure that regulates our system, and I get to teach those students the exact same thing.
Awesome. So you discussed some about dealing with things like policies and procedures. Do you mind discussing some special skills that you would recommend an individual would have for working in the emergency services industry?
So not only do we need to be strong clinicians and knowing how to care for a patient, but we need to be much broader scholar professionals. We need to look at things about how regulations impact our agency. Oftentimes in the emergency medical services industry, we forget that it's a business. In certain parts of the country, it's volunteerism that drives emergency services, fire, EMS, but there's still a business aspect behind it, especially in EMS where there's a cost of readiness or that cost to keep the ambulance stocked and ready to roll out when someone calls 911. And then there's the cost of doing business. And in most industries, and especially ours, it seems that knowledge is power. People don't really want to share that power with others. So we need to learn and seek out those mentors and work through processes to grow our understanding of everything in the industry, not just our patient care. Because we can do really good things as a clinician, but until you know all aspects of the business, from the state regulatory side to how you write a policy and procedure for sick leave, those all play into our system and how we operate.
That's awesome. So, it sounds like, you said you have over 2 decades in this industry. Is this something that you always saw yourself doing, or is this kind of something maybe that deviated off of the beaten path that you originally thought that you would do with your career?
So I always wanted to do something in emergency services. I grew up in a family of volunteers, and it definitely was one that it gets in your blood. It's there. But I will say that the career path wasn't one that I thought would truly take. So I was one of those people in high school that knew what I wanted. I wanted to go into the emergency services field, but didn't know how to find a degree that aligns with it. There's very few programs that actually have public safety degrees, especially when I started. So it started out with volunteering, and then moving from a volunteer position, like I said, to the interfacility transport company, getting to a 911 company. And then that path kind of diverged away from being on an ambulance to working for a county emergency management agency doing nuclear power plant planning. and doing off-site evacuations, and then I got lucky enough to do the job with the State Emergency Management Agency. Spent about 4 years there and left there to come to the state EMS office. So the path wasn't that straight line of I'm going to start here and go straight to the state EMS office. It's kind of taken me on a wild journey, and each one of those steps is a new story and a new learning opportunity along the way.
You mentioned previously about mentors and just the importance of having them. So do you currently or have you ever had mentors that you feel have helped you along your career path?
Always. One of those things of when you come into an industry and you're young, is a lot of people are often scared about someone being young and trying to learn as much as they can. It's one of those ones of, you're either trying to take their position or you're trying to come off in a way that doesn't sound like you know everything and you are everything in that industry with no experience. So it's always one of those ones to find a mentor and, trying to find one that's not what we refer to as the salty one who has been in the industry for 30, 40 years and has the motto of that's the way it's always been and that's the way it stayed. But finding that one who wants to change the needle and push the industry forward is always a great thing. I can say that I still have mentors today that I'll call up and go, what do you think about this? Not really seeking their direction, but just bouncing an idea off of something, because having that big picture, sometimes even the greatest artist gets stuck in the fine detail. So we're going to get down in the weeds and we're going to go, I want to put something here that just doesn't make sense, or it makes sense to me, but when you talk to that mentor and you go, this is why, and they go, well, did you think of these 3 other things, or how this will snowball into something bigger? I found myself often going, nah, I didn't consider that, but now that I think about it, and then you start running through different lived experiences for them. Our industry, unlike some, is very limitedly documented on, lived experience. We take things that we try as we get promoted from a clinician to a leader, and we kind of learn it on our own. But without that mentor, you're basically, try and fail, or try and it worked, so it's kind of a guessing game. But having that mentor really reduces that guessing game process.
So you mentioned just, having to kind of do some trial and error with trying and failing and trying to figure some things out. So what would you say has been the most challenging aspect of your career path so far?
I think the most challenging part of the career path is finding that spot where you can fit in and still move the needle. Most people in emergency services, we're very type A, we're very strong-willed, we want things to happen and we want them our way. And unfortunately, it's kind of learning that political chess game of when can we push something forward, when do we need to stay back, kind of fitting that place. Like I said, I started very young in this career, and it was one of those ones of I was always learning. I have the motto that you never stop learning. You need to learn something new every day, whether it's a piece of history about a town that you traveled through or something. You need to learn something. But in the emergency services industry, like I said, that's kind of one of those ones where you're either a young buck trying to make your own rut and get ahead in those areas, and some people see that as a threat, and others just see it as cockiness and, are less likely to help you succeed. So trying to fit that in and make sure that, your learned knowledge is conveyed to people in a way that you're not, oh, look at me, I know it, to I know it, but this is why it will work, and kind of getting people to buy in and becoming that leader without rank or title. And that's often difficult for a lot of people too, and especially I've dealt with that quite a few times of I don't have a title or didn't have a title at that time, but getting your point and getting what you need through is often difficult.
That was some really good information there. It kind of ties into the next question of what piece of advice would you give to our students and alumni who are interested in going into the emergency services field?
So taking out the standard, become a clinician. That's easy. Everyone knows that the first foot into emergency medical services is taking an EMS training program to get a clinical certification. Moving forward and trying to be a great provider means that you need to understand the business. You need to have those mentors that you can talk to about anything from a bad call with a patient you just don't know, and reach out to the physicians at the hospital and try to figure out what could you have done differently. Always learn from those cases. But even then though, Why does the budget work the way it does? We want to do some equipment purchases. How can we convince leadership to do that? But also to remember and create your own leadership style. You want to be able to have people be able to follow you. EMS and public safety as a whole is a dichotomy of leadership. There's several different factors that come into this, and there's people who study leadership that will tell you that you're either a servant leader or you're an authoritative leader. We're really a leader that has to be focused on the situation at hand in front of us. We need to be a servant leader and develop those people who are in our organization and invest in them to keep them with our organization. But then there's times where we have to be that authoritative leader and take that on-scene command presence role and tell people you must do A, B, and C. So having that contingency plan for leadership and understanding when to turn one on and turn one off is very important. And that's something that you need to learn early on in your career of managing people isn't just carrot and stick, but what does this person need? How do I get Tommy or Sally to be more engaged without necessarily giving them the title of a captain or lieutenant? We can have people who are, and I hate the phrase, I'm just an EMT or I'm just a paramedic. You're not. You're a healthcare professional, and you're in an industry that needs people who are willing to step into roles and provide input as to why we want this type of ambulance, or we need this piece of medical equipment that we're allowed to use within our protocols. But it takes that education, that knowledge, and the ability to research topics to be able to communicate them in a fashion that is intelligent but fact-based, not just biased of we want the new toy.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Rhone, for your great advice that you've given our students and alumni. And we thank you so much for the service that you do each and every day in your community and also as a professor here at Columbia Southern University.
You're quite welcome, and I will honestly say that if there's any current students or faculty, alumni that want to reach out, don't hesitate to reach out. We're all here to help you, even if you've got that diploma and walked across the stage or done it virtually. We're still here for you. It's not that we've left you out to dry. You're still part of the CSU family. I can tell you that as an alumni of CSU, being both a faculty and alumni, we have great support for our alumni as well. So current students, alumni, we're here for you.
What would be the best way for an alumni or a student to contact you? Maybe if they had some questions about the industry or just wanted to hear a little bit more about your experience.
So the best way to reach me is going to be through my email address, which is Aaron, aaron.rhone, R-H-O-N-E, at columbiasouthern.edu. I'd be glad to work through that to schedule times to talk on the phone, text, email, or however works for that alumni or student.
Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Rhone.
You're welcome. Have a great day.